Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Brinda ki jai. Go Gopi Govardhan Shama Kunda Radha Kund Kalindi Jamuna ji ki jai. Srimati Ganga Mai ki jai. Srimati Tulsi Maharani ki jai. Sri Govinda Kunda ki jai. Sri Koladeep Navadeep Dham ki jai. Sri Hapaniya Dham ki jai. Sri Paman Paradam ki jai. Brajamanda Sri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sri Purushottama Ketta Dham ki jai. Balaram Jagannath Subhadra Jiyo ki jai. Bhakti Vigna Vinasana Shri Narasimha Dev ki jai. Bhakta Prabhu Sri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Karmataraj Sri Chaitanya Mat ki jai. Navadip Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat ki jai. London Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat ki jai. Tadiya Shakamat ki jai. Tadiya Vaishnava Brinda ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Acharya Brinda ki jai. Samadeta Vaishnava Mandali ki jai. Kol Kartel ki jai. Shri Harinama Sankirtan ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi. Hare Krishna. So welcome everyone to our Sunday afternoon broadcast from the East London branch, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat. This week we'll be going a little bit different direction. Normally we're reading and discussing the books of our founder Acharya on Visnupad, Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj, and normally we would be continuing with that, but today, this Sunday, actually falls also to be the Divine Disappearance Festival of the founder Acharya of Sri Gaudiya Mott and Gaudiya Mission on Visnupad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So we'll be focusing more on him today, as he is the foundation of our spiritual lives. So we also will do some Guru Puja, Pushpanjali in a little while, but at the moment we can say a few words about His Divine Grace as much as we're able to remember that he appeared on, I think it was the I forget the date, 4th or 8th February 1874. And he was the son of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, whose name was Datta, family name is Datta. Their family were Kayasta, Zamindars, famous, especially in around Howrah and the area of Bengal. So he was born Bimala Prasad Dutt. Bhaktivinoda Thakur and his wife Bhagavati Devi, they prayed for a son who would be able to continue the mission of Sri Chaitanya Dev that he had envisioned and begun, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And he was one of, I believe, 11 sons, 3 daughters, and from a young age he showed great aptitude towards devotion to Lord Krishna. On the same year that he was born, when the Rath Yatra festival was observed that year, the car of Jagannath, Subhadra, Balabhadra, they stopped, and as we know from Chaitanya Charitamrita, sometimes the Lord would stop his car and no one could make the car move. In Chaitanya Charitamrita it's mentioned that they would bring horses to try and move the car, elephants to try and push the car. But if the Lord didn't want to move, then the Lord didn't want to move. So, as far as I understand it, the chariot of Subhadra happened to rest outside of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house. Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house is on the main, I think it's called Grand Avenue in Puri, the road where the temple is, where the Jagannath festival, where the Rath Yatra festival goes, almost next door to the Jagannath Mandir. And so then Bhagavati Devi, the mother of Bimala Prasad, she brought the babe out, and she was the Bhaktivinoda Thakur's post there was a local magistrate, and so she was, as his wife, she had some status, and so they allowed her to board the car, and she brought the car in front of Subhadra, and her garland fell on the boy, onto Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur as a babe in arms, in his mother's arms. We also hear that when he was born, his umbilical cord was wrapped around his neck and across his body like a Brahmin's thread. And so many auspicious symptoms were shown by him. As he was growing up, he was always interested in spiritual subject matters. By the age of 7, he had memorized all of the 700 verses, or whatever it is, of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and he could recite those verses and also explain them at the age of 7. So he was a very brilliant boy. His father was training him. We hear that when one day his father bought some very choice mangoes to offer to their deity, household deity, and when the boy was maybe 3-4 years old, maybe 5 years old, I don't know, but young boy, of course, when he saw those mangoes, he wanted to eat them immediately, and so when he got the opportunity, he ate those mangoes. And then when Bhaktivinoda Thakur came to make his offering, to offer those mangoes to the Lord, they were nowhere to be found. And so who has eaten the mango? So Bimala Prasad, he fessed up, yes, Father, it was me, I ate them. And Saraswati and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he chastised him quite heavily for a little boy, but to make him understand that we don't take anything for ourselves unless we've first of all offered it for the pleasure of the Lord. And in this case, those mangoes were bought specifically to be offered to the Lord. It's not that his mum was out at the market and thought, oh, some nice mangoes, I'll bring those back and the children can enjoy. No, Bhaktivinoda Thakur had procured those mangoes specifically to offer to the household deity. In any case, the boy took it very seriously, and so seriously he considered himself to have been a wrongdoer, to have been an offender in that situation, that he never ate a mango ever for the rest of his life. So we can get some kind of idea what sort of person he was, of what kind of resolve he had. Anyhow, he excelled in his education and in astronomy, astrology, Sanskrit, and so many other subjects. And because of his excellence in those subjects, he was given the title of Siddhanta Saraswati, which means who knows the conclusion of knowledge, like that. And that wasn't awarded him by the Vaishnavas, that was awarded by the Sanskritists and Jyotishis at that time. So, then, as he grew older, they thought that he would make his education would be his employment would be in that way. And actually, the University of Calcutta, they offered him the chair as the Sanskrit professor, and which he refused. He turned it down. And to honor him for the rest of his life, they kept the chair open, so nobody took that chair. They were more or less, it was either he takes it or no one takes it. So he didn't accept it, and but they kept the chair empty in his honor. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur was somewhat concerned about how he would make his way in the world, and she said, "No, Father, not necessary to worry, and I will manage it. It's okay." And he became a tutor of the children of the Maharaj of Jaipur, and that's Jaipur in Orissa, not Jaipur in Rajasthan, not that Jaipur, Jaipur, which is a place in Orissa. The king there, he employed him as tutor to his son and daughter, and he accepted that position until he decided to begin his, you can say, missionary work. Saraswati Thakur had already given him Bhaktivinoda Thakur had already given him the responsibility of the Jogapit, the worship of Mahaprabhu at his birthplace. And Guru Maharaj says that he reluctantly accepted that charge, but maintained it for his whole life. And why reluctantly? Because at that time, Mayapur wasn't like we see it today. It was basically jungle. And there were many, how did Guru Maharaj word it? Undesirable elements in the area. So it means, criminals living nearby, and so there was some possibility of violence and so on. So he was a little reluctant, and Guru Maharaj said that he had to do many things to maintain the service there, even as far as so that the cook would stay. He had to roll ganja for him with his own hand. The cook would smoke ganja. He was a Brahmin, but used to smoke ganja. But he could, he wasn't able to get anyone else out for that place. So this cook was okay, but wouldn't stay unless he had some ganja every day. So Saraswati Thakur would arrange that for him. I remember once in Navadvip, when it was the harvest time. There's some different harvests during the year. This was the big rice harvest, and our mott has so much land where they grow rice and so on. And so at that time they have to hire extra laborers to come and do the work there. So we were sitting with Guru Maharaj one day, and Srila Govinda Maharaj came up, and Guru Maharaj was telling giving some kind of a lecture, and Srila Govinda Maharaj interrupted and said, Maharaj, I need to be able to pay the workmen. And Guru Maharaj was, he kind of kept hold of the purse strings. And so then Guru Maharaj said, so how much is it? And he says, this much, this much. And he was telling, breaking it down. And showing Guru Maharaj. And then Guru Maharaj said, oh, I didn't know I was paying for their beedies as well. He said, yes, Maharaj, that's part of the deal. So, and if you don't know, beedies are like little cigarettes that they, made of tobacco leaves that they like in India, the laborers. Anyway, something like that we can understand. So, practical. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was, he had Harinam initiation from Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And he was also initiated into the Nrsimha mantra by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. These two. But the Gayatri mantra can't be given to the son from the father. Some sadhu has to be chosen. So Saraswati Thakur, he was recommended by Bhaktivinoda Thakur to accept Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj as his Diksha Guru, means Gayatri Diksha Guru. And so Saraswati Thakur approached him. He would come and see Bhaktivinoda Thakur. They were contemporaries and friends, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur admired him as a genuine sadhu. And he came, and Saraswati Thakur said, I want to request Harinam initiation from you. And first of all, he said, no, I'm not going to accept any disciples. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, you have to persist and insist. So the second time he came, and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he approached him again. Please, will you give me Harinam? And this time, Gaur Kishore Babaji said, I will ask my prabhu, meaning I'll ask Mahaprabhu, and let you know. So then when he came back sometime later, and Saraswati Thakur said to him, did you ask Mahaprabhu? And he said, I forgot. So, don't worry, he said, don't worry, I'll ask it again. Then anyway, finally, Gaur Kishore Babaji came to him. Some kind of miraculous demonstration was shown there. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave some Gaur Kishore Babaji gave some strange gifts to Saraswati Thakur. One was a hat made of tiger skin. Another was the nail of a tiger, which had been set in like amber or something. And some other very strange gifts. But anyway, Saraswati Thakur accepted those, and Gaur Kishore gave him, not Harinam, gave him Gayatri Diksha. Then Bhaktivinoda Thakur became very serious with him that you have to take the responsibility and make some thinking for spreading Mahaprabhu's religion of divine love. And not only that, but also to establish the clear path, because since Chaitanya Dev, up to the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the followers, so-called followers of Chaitanya Dev, were showing themselves to be debauchees, and to not say all, but those that were, claiming to be followers of Chaitanya Dev. They're showing all kinds of misbehavior in the name of Mahaprabhu. And so that was also, Bhaktivinoda Thakur began that revealing them and showing them to be deviant. And Saraswati Thakur himself, he identified over 100 deviant sampradayas, apasampradayas, meaning claiming to be followers of Chaitanya, but doing something else against the teachings of Chaitanya. And there are so many. Ols, Bols, Shaki Bekis, Gora Nagaris, and there are so many. There are so many. But even those 100 that were identified by Saraswati Thakur, there are more than that. Anyway, Srila Guru Maharaj said 95% of his energy was spent in establishing what is not Krishna consciousness. That was, that task was so massive in itself. He wanted to show very clearly what is not Krishna consciousness, because of there so many deviant claims as to what is Krishna consciousness. So, very difficult. So 1918, he took sannyas after consulting with the acharyas of the Ramanuja and Madhva Sampradaya. He established the Tridandi sannyas, which previously was not prevalent in Mahaprabhu's Sampradaya. But after consulting with Madhvacharya Sampradaya Acharya and Ramanuja Sampradaya Acharya at that time, he managed to, and looking through the scripture and so on, he managed to establish what would be the proper thing. And from a picture of his guru, Gaurkishore Babaji, he accepted the Tridanda. So, many of those who oppose Saraswati Thakur, they cite that as one of the reasons why he's not bona fide. They say that it was just made up, his initiation. It wasn't given in any proper sampradaya. There was no diksha line or anything. But Saraswati Thakur didn't care for that. And on that same year, he began his preaching campaign. Prior to that, 2 years prior to that, after the disappearance of both Gaurkishore Babaji and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he began a penance, or you can say some kind of austerity, where he lived in a hut on the banks of the Ganges and kept the same vow as Haridas Thakur for 2 years, and also fasting. So starting on the dark moon, complete fast, and then the next day he would take 1 grain of rice, and then the following day 2 grains of rice, and then up to the full moon, and then from the full moon, then going back down to 1, and then fasting again. For 2 years he lived like this, just taking Harinam. And when his vow was complete, on the day that his vow was complete, he was considering what shall I do? What will be the best course of action? And there are some different versions of what happened. Some say that he saw something floating in the river, or some say that it was something caught on a plant, like a bush on the bank of the river. But anyhow, the consensus is, of the different descriptions, is that he found came to him one piece of paper which was a page from one of the books of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's in Bengali, and the main like you can say instruction that he garnered from that page was build temples and print books. So that was he decided, okay, that's what I'll do. That will be how I'll do this. And so then he took sannyas and he founded the Gaudiya mission. And many devotees started to flock around him. Well, I should just say in the meantime that he was the tutor of the Maharaj of Jaipur, when he decided now he would begin his missionary life, he told the king that I can't continue in the post educating your children. And the king, explained why and everything. And the king said, okay. And he awarded him as his pension his full salary for the rest of his life. So, and Saraswati Thakur accepted that salary until the day of his sannyas. After the sannyas, he didn't accept that anymore. Anyway, so he began that preaching mission, Gaudiya Math. One of the first people that came to him was a disciple of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he himself became a sannyasi, the first sannyasi of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. His name was Bhakti Pradeep Tirtha. And he was given sannyas by Saraswati Thakur. And he came to London. He was one of the first devotees that came to London. Tirtha Maharaj and Bon Maharaj, they were sent to London by Saraswati Thakur. Together, the first two devotees that came. And there's 108 sannyas names, and the first most prominent of the sannyas names is always Tirtha. Tirtha is always considered the foremost of the sannyasi names. So his first sannyasi he named Tirtha, and then gradually others came. His next door neighbor came and joined as a young boy. He joined there. He was like 17, 18 years old. He later became Parvat Maharaj. And then and another boy came, his name was Paramananda. And Paramananda, Guru Maharaj said, Saraswati Thakur treated him like he was his own son. Although Saraswati Thakur himself never married, he was a lifelong celibate. But interestingly, when he was asked, which is better, renounced life or family life? His reply was, family life is better, because we want to be part of Krishna's family. But he also qualified that by saying, and if I thought I could spread Krishna consciousness just by having children, I'd be willing to pass semen every 5 minutes to do that. But he decided to remain celibate his whole life. And but he said, most of Mahaprabhu's associates, they were family men and women, and some few sannyasis. So he began there. Sri Gaudiya Math. Paramananda Prabhu, he was, Guru Maharaj said, I think he became Bharati Maharaj, his sannyas name, when he took sannyas. But he was like 18 or 19 years old, and Guru Maharaj said he used to sleep on Saraswati Thakur's bed, and sometimes wet the bed sometimes. But Saraswati Thakur treated him like his own son. And then he said when he was little, maybe 23, 24 years old, he came and said, Prabhupada, I want to get married now. And Saraswati Thakur said, no, I want you to remain as a brahmachari. And he said, no, I've decided I'm going to get married. So he left the mott, and then maybe 6 months later he came back with his wife in tow. And he came up to Saraswati Thakur's room, and with his wife, his new wife, and told Saraswati Thakur, this is my wife, Harinam Din, and give her Harinam. And Prabhupada said, okay. And then he said, and Diksha Din, means give Gayatri also, give Gayatri. And Saraswati Thakur said, no, later we can give. And he said, no, Diksha Din. Okay, Saraswati Thakur gave. Guru Maharaj used that to illustrate their relationship was like that. He could even, like demand his guru. You give Gayatri to her. And Saraswati Thakur was submissive. Yes, okay. So Guru Maharaj says that outwardly his persona was like a lion, they call the Singha Guru, but inwardly very soft-hearted nature and very affectionate nature. And they wanted, Saraswati Thakur wanted to expand the preaching to outside of India. That was considered, actually everything, Guru Maharaj said, mainly everything he did was revolutionary. First of all, he came to Vrindavan in a motor car. It was never heard of before that any sadhu would come to Vrindavan in a motor car. And when he arrived there, all of the temples, they closed their doors to him and his followers, except Radha Raman Mandir. The Mahant of the Radha Raman Mandir, he was also the mayor of Vrindavan. And he opened the doors to Saraswati Thakur, and recognizing his saintly nature, and cooperated with him. And following his lead, one by one, all the other mandirs in Vrindavan, they opened their gates to him, opened their doors to him. And it was also unknown at that time, even that if a sannyasi would travel by vehicle. That was the Ramanuja sannyasis. That was the most prevalent in the, apart from the Shankar Sampradaya. In the Vaishnava Sampradaya, the Ramanuja Sampradaya was still strong with sannyas. But one of the vows that they take at the time of sannyas is not to travel by any vehicle. So they can't go on a train, they can't go on a car or a boat or a bike or anything. Even by horse, they can't go by horse either. They have to walk by foot. So you can imagine. But Saraswati Thakur's idea was, no, for preaching Krishna consciousness, we can utilize everything. And including utilizing the motor car and utilizing the printing press, which he adopted very early on. He, even before beginning the Gaudiya Mott, he established the Jai Shri press, which was a printing press, actual physical printing press for the publication of Vaishnava literature, which of course we know famously he dubbed it the Brihad Madanga, the printing press. And later, originally that press was situated in Altadungi Road in Calcutta. And when they opened the Bag Bazaar Gaudiya Mott in Bag Bazaar, and the deities were taken there by procession, the press was shifted there. And the press room was underneath Saraswati Thakur's living quarters. And at night time, Guru Maharaj said, at night time, he bolted all of his windows closed. So he's like sealed himself into this room. And he said, through the night, the press is going. And if you've ever seen those old offset presses, ka-dung, 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 ka-dung. And then some of the disciples said, oh, doesn't it disturb you hearing the noise of the press all night? How can you sleep? And he said, and Saraswati Thakur said, oh, I don't hear that, I hear Sankirtan. That's what I hear. So, anyhow. And so then 1923, Srila Sridhar Maharaj joined in the mission, Saraswati Thakur's mission, which was begun in 1918, and 1923 Guru Maharaj joined there. And somebody asked Guru Maharaj, so did Saraswati Thakur lead the kirtan? And like, what was the, how was his kirtan? And Guru Maharaj said, Prabhupad? Sing? Impossible. No, impossible. And everyone was surprised. And Guru Maharaj said, yes, he said, I've written in the song that he is the personification of Hari Kirtan. But we never, ever, ever saw him sing in the kirtan. Never sang in the kirtan. And then Guru Maharaj also joked and said, it may be because he didn't have any teeth. So, but no, he never sang in the kirtan ever, But Guru Maharaj said, but he is the personification of Hari Kirtan. So it is not just all about the external show of the thing. What the quality of what he was, of his Harikatha itself is the greatest. It was the greatest Sankirtan. And he faced much opposition in the beginning, especially from the smarta Brahmins and the Goswamis. Something from the Sahajiyas, but not so much because they weren't very well organized. But the caste Goswamis, who they make a business from running all the temples in Vrindavan. It's their family business. And Saraswati Thakur very fearlessly spoke out against that. And so they hated him for that. So one day they arranged, when Guru Maharaj said, this was before I joined the mission, he said, but in Paramatala, if you've been to Navadvip, you know the Paramatala where they have the big Shiva Mandir inside the banyan tree, and promote Prodamaya's deity is there, and also that place where they cut off the heads of the goats, and that is quite a bloody bit of that part there. That was a big surprise to me the first time I was walking through, because there's many shops selling neck beads and counting beads and bead bags and like that, framed pictures of the deities and Mahaprabhu and so on. I'm walking around, having a look at all of that. Suddenly, this goat's head goes flying past me, followed by like a stream of blood. And I was, oh my God, what is that? And that was the place. They have this kind of wooden thing where they just stick the goat in there, bosh, off goes the head. Anyway, at the time, 20 or something, they arranged, Saraswati Thakur arranged that he was going to give a lecture there at the Paramatala, and some, stage had been set up and everything. But unbeknownst to him, the local Goswamis and others who were opposed to him, they decided that they were going to sabotage it, and their plan was to kill him. So what they'd done was they told, threatened all of the shopkeepers, all of the people that lived there, when he comes, you have to close your door and don't open your door to him or his followers. And they bought like flatbed trucks, not trucks, but like what do you call that? The back part of a lorry, whatever that's called. And they'd filled it with bricks, and they'd covered it with some tarpaulin, and there were maybe 5 or 6 of these spread around where Saraswati Thakur was meant to give the lecture and being like disguised. So then he came to give the lecture, and it was, Guru Maharaj said, obvious almost immediately that something was amiss, because everybody started, shutting their shops and boarding up their windows and so on. And then as Saraswati Thakur stepped forward, some signal was given, and they took off the tarpaulin, and they're lobbing house bricks at Saraswati Thakur as he began his talk, and it became impossible. So for his life, he had to run. And at that time, Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, who at that time was I think his name was Vinod Bihari, as a Grihasta, and he was dressed in white. But if you've ever seen a photograph of Keshav Maharaj, he looks very similar to Saraswati Thakur, his features. So anyway, they managed to take shelter. Some good person opened their door and let them in. And so Keshav Maharaj and Saraswati Thakur, they exchanged dresses. And so Keshav Maharaj took Saraswati Thakur's sannyas dress, and Saraswati Thakur took his white dress. And he was able to escape in the crowd. And Keshav Maharaj came out, and here I am. And they pursued him. And fortunately, by the grace of the Lord, he was managed to escape and live to tell the story. But so it was a lot of opposition to the Gaudiya Math initially. But Saraswati Thakur didn't take that as a failing. He took it as a sign that we must be doing something right. If this is we're getting some response from the environment. So if that anti-response means we must be doing something right. So anyhow, like I mentioned before, Guru Maharaj said 95% of his preaching was to show what is not Krishna consciousness. So, that rankled some of the establishment, you can say, who made their living from being religious people. They made their living from that, but Saraswati Thakur wouldn't accept that as being a proper cultivation of spiritual life. He considered it to be cheating. So he was very strong in his preaching, very strong in his talking, and also he wanted to spread Krishna consciousness now. He wanted to send the message of Krishna consciousness outside of India. That had already begun with Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was corresponding with who become known as the American Transcendentalists, Thoreau and Emerson and Walt Whitman and like this. So he'd sent them some of his writings, but they wrote back to him and said, it's in Bengali, we can't read Bengali, can you write something in English? So that's when he wrote that book, Sri Chaitanya's Life and Precepts, and it's sent to them and to many universities and around the world. So it had begun like that, and Saraswati Thakur wanted to continue that, and he wanted to send somebody to the, preachers to the West. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur's, it's mentioned in his biography that his closest friend in the world, you can say, was Dwijendranath Tagore, of the Tagore, the Tagore family, the brother of Rabindranath Tagore, who was given the Nobel Prize for Literature. And so he, through his connection, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's connection, Saraswati Thakur approached Rabindranath and asked him where would be the best place to establish or to send preachers for Krishna consciousness. And Rabindranath's considered opinion was, he said, you've been all around the world, who will appreciate? And he said, the British and the Germans, they will appreciate. They appreciate culture and they appreciate something of the, the Veda and so on. So based on that, he decided he wanted to send preachers to London initially, which he did. Bhakti Hridoy Bon Maharaj, Bhakti Pradeep Tirtha Maharaj, and one, I forget his name now. He was a disciple, and he was studying to become a barrister, and he was also, he was also making a thesis, PhD thesis. Dr. Sambidananda Das, his name was. Doctor later when he got his PhD, but Sambidananda Das. So the three were there. And he was, while there, Sambidananda, he was writing his thesis for a PhD at London University, and his thesis was on the religion of Chaitanya Dev. But when the PhD board examined his work, they said, we can't give you a PhD because PhD means it has to be something original that not that anyone else has come up with before. And he said, so but you cite this Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati so much that we have to conclude that this is his ideas, not your ideas. And so unless you can convince us otherwise. So Saraswati Thakur wrote a letter to the examining board and said, without the formulation of his ideology, I would not have been able to begin my religious movement and so on. So he's like the author of this, not me. And so they gave him his PhD. Anyway, the three were there. And, then Bon Maharaj was very highly liked by people. But he was a bit kind of adopted by little old ladies from the Women's Institute. They would take him to the seaside, and all of these things. And he wrote, and then he also went to Berlin. He was so London and Berlin. And while he was there, he wrote 3 books, like my years in, I don't forget exact title, but My Years in London and My Years in Germany. So I think 2 books about London and 1 book about Berlin. And Saraswati Thakur remarked about those books when he received copies of them. No mention of this poor fellow in any of those books. So he didn't appreciate them very, very much. Anyhow, they had some limited success in their preaching, but finally Bon Maharaj was, you can say, converted to a Western, or as they say in India, a Saib. He was converted to a Saib, and he threw his danda into the Thames and returned to India. Guru Maharaj says, suited and booted, he returned. And when there was a citizen's reception for him in Bombay, because he went by boat, of course. And when he arrived at the port, there he was with his suit and boots. And when they went to the temple, he said, no gentleman will remove their shoes to go into the temple. He said, refused to take off his shoes. So then, anyway, they kind of made some propaganda to, so it wasn't a big loss. They got him to put on sannyas dress and to have some photos taken and so on. And there's a photograph quite a famous photograph of that in Bombay. And down in the right-hand corner is one of the Bombay Gaudiya monk devotees sitting there, and he's got this big handlebars moustache. And it's Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktisiddhanta Swami, as he was Abai Babu then. He got this big moustache. He was there. And we asked Guru Maharaj, are you in that photograph? Because Guru Maharaj was also there. "Are you in that photograph?" He said, "No, maybe somewhere in the back." You know, this was Guru Maharaj's style. So anyway, after the reception and the photographs and everything, they were back wherever they were staying. I don't know if it was a mott or wherever, but then the devotees, naturally, they asked Bon Maharaj, like, "What happened, Maharaj? Like, what happened?" He's, suit and tie and everything. What happened? And he said, they ask questions that we don't know the answers to. And then Guru Maharaj said, "What are those questions?" So then they began this like question-answer thing. He presented these questions, and every single question Guru Maharaj answered. And when the questioning was finished, and Guru Maharaj had thoroughly defeated all of Bon Maharaj's questions, Prabhupada jumped up on the table and with his arms raised, he said, "Today, Europe has been conquered by Asia." But anyhow, it didn't bode well, because before he left, all the supporters that he'd managed to establish in London, he wrote them a letter saying it's all over. We're not going to be. The idea was that Maharaj of Jaipur, who had Saraswati Thakur previously was employed as a tutor to his children, he was going to fund the building of a temple in central London. It was in the newspaper, it was in the Times, first Hindu temple in the UK, and maybe it would have been in one of the parks, like they have that mosque in one of the parks, so maybe it would have been like that. In fact, Guru Maharaj said that in his room in Bagh Bazaar, Saraswati Thakur's room, he kept a map of London on the wall, and he would often look at this map and consider, oh yeah, this is Buckingham Palace, that's Westminster Abbey, and like maybe this would be a good place to build the temple, and and he also said, or rather, it was his plan that he himself would come to London. Saraswati Thakur himself would go to London, and Guru Maharaj said on his deathbed, on his passing, he was heard to remark, "Krishna has cheated me of 10 years," because his horoscope had said that he would live an extra 10 years more than he actually did. And Guru Maharaj said, "I cannot but consider that Krishna gave those 10 years to Swami Maharaj, Prabhupada." Anyhow, I wonder what the world would be like now if Saraswati Thakur had come to London. But Guru Maharaj said that, the mood of preaching was so strong for preaching in the West that in Mayapur, one of the man who was ploughing the fields there, in his spare time he was learning English, and the other devotees used to joke with it, laugh at him and say, "Why are you learning English? You think Prabhupada's going to send you to London or to Europe for preaching?" And he said, no, who knows? 10 years from now, maybe I'll be ploughing the fields in New York City. So, this was like how much in the forefront of the consciousness of the Gaudiya Math that was. So anyway, but because of that, at the time of his passing, Bon Maharaj tried to see Saraswati Thakur, and Saraswati Thakur said, "I don't want to see his face." Wouldn't allow him to come. Then afterwards, after Saraswati Thakur's passing, Bon Maharaj did come and to the God Brothers and asked, "If you've made Guru Aparad and your Guru is gone from the world, how do you get forgiveness for that?" And he considered that he'd done that. So then no one could answer that, but the Professor Sanyal, Nishikanta Sanyal, his name was Narayan Das Adhikari. He was considered the best pundit of the Gaudiya Math at that time. He researched and he found in some Purana or somewhere that it says there that if you've made Guru Aparad and your Guru is no longer present in the world, and gives some like formula So what that meant was that for 1 year, you have to live on a raft in the middle of a river with no shelter. Means nothing to cover you from the elements at all, and just wearing a loincloth for 1 year, and again doing that fasting, one piece of rice, 2 pieces of rice, like that, just rice for 1 year. And he did that, taking Harinam, he did that. And after the year, all the god brothers, senior god brothers, they considered he's been forgiven his offense. And they all even gave him a place on the governing body at that time. But anyhow, after that, Saraswati Thakur wanted to send another preacher to London, and he wanted to send Guru Maharaj, Srila Maharaj. So he called Guru Maharaj and he said, I want to send you to London, what do you say? And Guru Maharaj said, yes, Maharaj, if you insist, I can go, but I don't think you'll get a very good return for your money if you send me. And Saraswati Thakur, how so? And he said, well, you know, I'm a simple Brahmin boy and I don't mix very easily with everybody. I don't understand their customs and habits, and I can't understand their intonation. And like I said, I'm not a very world-wise kind of person. And so Saraswati Thakur said, so who do you think I should send? And he said, send a Prakrita Prabhu. Prakrita Prabhu, he was very well-established devotee in the Gaudiya Mott. He was a Grihasta. And considering that, Saraswati Thakur decided to send him. Of course, many of the devotees, they said to Guru Maharaj, why did you say no? You know, like, you'd have become famous as the world preacher, you know? The person who brought Krishna consciousness to the world. You'd be famous for that. And Guru Maharaj said, I don't have any desire for anything like that. My only desire is that I be counted as a sincere disciple of Guru Maharaj, that's all. And another senior godbrother said, but you know why he wanted to send you? Guru Maharaj said, I have some idea. He said, no, but he told us, Sridhar Maharaj cannot be converted. That's why he wanted to send you. Anyway, a Prakrita Prabhu was sent. He was, before going, Saraswati Thakur gave him the title of Goswami. In Saraswati Thakur's mission, the title of Goswami was reserved for sannyasis. And, but he was a Grihasta, but Saraswati Thakur gave him that title, Goswami, a Prakrita Goswami. So, and he was sent to London. And he had also some good success there. Not, of course, not like Srila Prabhupada's success, but something. And he met the king and queen. He met the Archbishop of Canterbury. And like that, he was staying in accommodation near to, quite near to Buckingham Palace in anyway, around that area, kind of Hyde Park area, he had a boarding house there they were staying, and that was being funded again by that Maharaj of Jaipur was funding that. But halfway through, because how it was in those days, they had the apartment where he was staying was fed by gas meter. There was gas lights, gas cooking. I was like, you know, it wasn't electricity, it was all gas then, you know, so. And you had to put coins in a meter to like power it. And he ran out of money. So he couldn't even, you know, afford the gas to cook something to eat. So maybe for a week he's like just fasting or just living on some fruit or something, you know, hardly anything. And he's relying on Krishna. And Kensington Park Palace, or Kensington Palace Park, or whatever it was called. That was the area. And he would go walking there in the morning, chant japa. So he was walking through there, chanting japa. And suddenly something caught his eye in the flower bed, glinting light or metal or something. So he walked up and he uncovered it, and it was a murti. And it was a murti of Vishnu. So he took that murti, cleaned it up, took it back to his apartment, and looked. Jai, Sisi Guru Granth. And he looked in. He had with him Chaitanya Charitamrita. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in Sanatan Shiksha, Mahaprabhu's teaching to Sanatan Goswami, there all of the different avatars of Vishnu are named according to how they hold the weapon. So if the conch is in this hand, and the lotus is in this hand, and the club in this hand, and the chakra in this hand, then he's this person, like this. So by checking that, he found that this murti of Narayan was Vasudev. So then he placed him in a respectable place in his apartment, and began offering some flowers from the park like this. Then a knock on the door, and he opened the door, and it was the landlady, and the landlady standing there. Oh, this has come for you from India, but it had fallen down the back of the dresser, and it was lost. But it's been like here about 2 weeks, and when he opened it, it was a check for £100 from that Maharaja. And of course, in 1930 or whatever it was, 1920s, £100 was a lot of money. So anyway, he thought, okay, this is Krishna's grace. So he took the check to the bank, and the bank said the check was made to Prakrita Goswami, right? But his passport said Banerjee. That was his family name, Banerjee. And they said, no, it doesn't match. We can't cash it for you, So he sat down and thinking, what shall I do? Just previously, a few nights before, at Caxton Hall, he'd had a program organized by the Earl of Jutland, who was previously the Viceroy of India. And there in the lobby of the bank, the Times of London on one page, there's the Earl of Jutland. So then he takes the newspaper and it says AP Goswami. It doesn't say his passport name. It says AP Goswami meets with Earl of Jutland, and he shows it to the cashier and says, "You see, that's me. That's what." They said, "Okay," and they cashed the check. They probably wouldn't do that today. But almost certainly wouldn't do that today. But that was considered to be proof enough in those days, and so he got the money. Anyway, after he returned from London, the preaching in London, and after the disappearance of Saraswati Thakur, he came to Guru Maharaj to take sannyas, and Guru Maharaj gave him sannyas, Bhakti Saranga Goswami Maharaj. He was a very prominent preacher of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. He has a very beautiful temple in Imlitala in Vrindavan, where the tree, the tal tree where Mahaprabhu sat underneath, looking over the Jamuna, that's situated there. It's about 5 minutes walk from our mott in Seva Kunj, Aprakrita. So he became Bhakti Saranga Goswami Maharaj. In fact, Guru Maharaj said he began accepting disciples when he was a householder. He said, but he had one disciple who was a brahmachari, who was so dedicated that he said, I feel ashamed to remain in my household life when I have a disciple like that. So that was what prompted him to take sannyas. So anyhow, he was a very great disciple of Saraswati Thakur. And that's some kind of the... They made a publication when they went back to London, and it was written in English by Srila Maharaj that they took. I have it somewhere, but for the life of me, I can't remember where I put it. I've got trunks of things up in my attic. It must be there somewhere. It's one of those, it was published. It was like a kind of foolscap thing. It's got the symbol of the Gaudiya mott on it, and it's like got all these little threads where worms have been eating it. So I had them all sealed and to try and preserve it. But anyhow, so anyway, Guru Maharaj also said, actually it was Srila Govinda Maharaj who told us that although Guru Maharaj had said that he didn't feel himself fit for that worldwide preacher epitaph or whatever, then he said there was an inner reason as well, was because Guru Maharaj knew that soon Saraswati Thakur would leave the world, and he knew that he would want Guru Maharaj to be there at that time. And so it happened. So then it was in Calcutta. Guru Maharaj said, some of us, we were sitting, we knew it was imminent. So we were sitting with him, always one or two disciples with him, not like all of the time, 24 hours a day. He said, so my shift was from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. And he said, so I would sit with him till 4 a.m. and then at 4 a.m., the next person would come. He said, then I would go join the Mongol Arti, and after Mongol Arti I would take rest. He said, but this morning, after I've gone, then one of the devotees said, Prabhupada's calling for you. He said, Guru Maharaj said, then immediately I knew this is it now. He is leaving. So he said, I went back and I came. When Saraswati Thakur realized I was there, he said to Guru Maharaj, or announced, Sridhar Maharaj sing Sri Rupa Manjari Pada, which if you don't know is the anthem of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, written by Narottam Das Thakur, and is considered to be the highest expression of Bhakti in our Bhakti Siddhanta in our line. So much so that in our mott we don't sing that song. Because we consider it Guru Maharaj's song, because he sang that song. The only other time we sang it was with Srila Govinda Maharaj, that he would sing it. So, there are songs that we can and we cannot sing. And that some are not meant for us, and some of them there's some allowance for us to sing, like during Kartik, some of the higher rasa song. But this one's kind of out of bounds to us, although well known to so many of the devotees. But anyway, Guru Maharaj said, when he gave that order, I hesitated because I know I'm not a good singer. He said, I'm a good dancer. He said, when we would have kirtan, I was very good dancer in the kirtan. And we saw that sometimes in his last days when Guru Maharaj would come down and join the program, which was very rarely. On Radhastami he may come down, on Gaura Purnima he might come down. And maybe on this day, Saraswati Thakur's disappearance day or appearance day, he might come down. But on the few occasions when I saw him that he did come down, sometimes he would dance in the kirtan. He would wave his hand like this. And it was really beautiful to see. So anyway, he says, I was a good dancer, but I'm not a good singer by any stretch of the imagination. He said, so I hesitated to sing. So then old Puri Maharaj was there, but at that time he was, I think his name was Pranavananda, Brahmachari, and he was considered like the kirtan leader in the Gaudiya mosque, the top kirtan leader, with a very sweet voice and, you know, knew all the melodies and everything. Then there's Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati's secretary. His name is Kunja Bihari. And Guru Maharaj said that he was so much revered by all the devotees that even whatever he said, no one would challenge it. Although he was a grihasta, even the sannyasis would obey him, whatever he said. In fact, Guru Maharaj said one time, he said, I was deputized to complain about him to Prabhupada. And he said, I went to him and I said to Prabhupada, Kunja Babu, that was how they called him, said, Kunja Babu, he's been like skimming off money from the accounts to like maintain his family. And he said, immediately that I'd said that, I could see that Saraswati Thakur was displeased with me for saying such a thing. And but you know, he was like with a group of senior devotees, sannyasis there, and they said, and he said, oh, and this is all of you are telling this, yes. And he said, and you find it objectionable? They said, yeah. They said yes. And he said, so my response to you is that you can all leave and he can stay, because he's done more for this mission than all of you put together. And it's a fact that when he came to Saraswati Thakur, he was a grihasta, and at the time of Saraswati Thakur's passing, he was a grihasta. But he funded all of Saraswati Thakur's preaching from his own pocket. He worked in the post office. I don't know what. Doing what, I don't know, but he worked in the post office, and he got himself into huge debt by taking like preferential loans, which he could get through the post office as an employee, and use that money for arranging preaching for Saraswati Thakur. And Guru Maharaj said he got into so much debt that he had to take a post in slipping my mind now. One of the countries adjacent to India. There was a war there. Burma. He had to take a post in Burma and work there for 5 years to pay off his loans that he had. But 5 years away from his family and 5 years away from the association of his godbrothers and of his guru. But 5 years he had to go there to pay off all of those loans that he'd taken upon his own head for Saraswati Thakur's service. So anyway, this was his position. If you don't know, later he became Bhakti Vilas Tirtha Maharaj. Anyway, he saw Guru Maharaj hesitating to sing, so he asked Pranavananda Brahmachari, you sing, Prabhu, you sing. Then that devotee began singing very sweetly. After a few lines, Saraswati Thakur said, no, stop. I don't want to hear the sweet melody of the song. I want to hear Sridhar Maharaj sing the song. So then Guru Maharaj said, then immediately I began and sang that. And shortly after that, Saraswati Thakur disappeared. But he said all of those who were present at that, like last meeting, you can say, they all unanimously agreed that that was the time of transmission of the sampradaya. the Rupanuga Sampradaya, from Saraswati Thakur to Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And that Pranavananda Brahmachari, who became Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj, he wrote a letter to Guru Maharaj, and in that letter he said, "Therefore I consider you Rupanuga Dhara." Means Dhara means current. The current of the Rupanuga Sampradaya coming through you. And he said all of us that were present there, we all felt that. It was a mystical transmission. And also, he said, and also we believe it was your entrance or initiation into Rasa Seva. So, Saraswati Thakur's affection for Guru Maharaj was very deep. Well, one lecture he's giving, and he was talking about some event, and he's mentioning all the devotees that were there at that event. And when he came to mention Sridhar Maharaj, he said, and Shastra Nipuna Sridhar Maharaj, he was also present. So Shastra Nipuna means genius of scripture. Genius of scripture, Sridhar Maharaj, he was present. And Guru Maharaj said he said, I believe that the cause of his affection to me was that I wrote this song, Bhaktivinoda Viraha Dasakam. In the time of Saraswati Thakur, I wrote this song, and it was published in the Gaudiya magazine. And Saraswati Thakur read that song, and he said, this composition is very fine. Who has written this? And the editors, they said, Sridhar Maharaj, he has written that. And Saraswati Thakur says, no, Sridhar Maharaj has not written this. Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written this through him. And then he remarked, now I am satisfied that if I leave the world, there is one man who remains who can still properly represent what I came to give. That is Sridhar Maharaj. Anyway, there are many such anecdotes. Even on the day of Sridhar Maharaj's initiation, Guru Maharaj is from a Bhattacharya family, high family, Brahmin family. And his name before initiation, when he joined the mission, was Ramendra Chandra Bhattacharya. And at the time of initiation, Saraswati Thakur changed his name to Ramendra Sundar. And Guru Maharaj said, what is the meaning, Maharaj? Guru Maharaj knows the meaning of the words because he was an expert in Sanskrit. And Saraswati Thakur said, the meaning is that this is Ramendra Sundar is Krishna, not Dasarati Rama, or even Balaram, but Krishna, 100% Krishna. Ramendra Sundar, that is Krishna. That is our conception, that our business is with Krishna, not with any other avatar of the Lord. So, what is that? And Guru Maharaj speaks about on the day of the passing of Saraswati Thakur, that they arranged, he passed away in Calcutta, and they arranged a train to take him from Calcutta to Mayapur, to the mott in Mayapur. And he said that from Sialda station, which is the second station in Calcutta, Howrah is the main station, but there's also Sialda station. So from Sialda station, they had a train to take him. And he said, at every station on the way, thousands and thousands of people stood to offer their respects to him. And he said it was about 8 o'clock in the evening when he finally arrived at Mayapur. And Guru Maharaj said, with our own hands we dug his tomb, Samadhi. And and he said then they sat him there, his body, he said, like a soft and pink, like a lotus. He sat there, and then they cover with salt. And he said, went up to his neck, and he said, then he said, once the salt came to the neck, I had to go out. I couldn't bear to see his face covered. And they covered that, and they made the Samadhi and everything. Said then Guru Maharaj said he was asked again to sing Sri Rupa Manjari Pada as he had at the time of his disappearance, and then someone recited Chaitanya Charitamrita, the disappearance of Haridas Thakur, and the ceremony was complete. He said, we didn't take prasadam till midnight, and we took prasadam, and he said, then the devotees were lamenting, what will we do now? The world has become dark. What will we do now without him? And then somebody quoted, where will we get our strength? Where will we have our understanding? And then somebody quoted that, this scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam, that will give us light in the darkness of the Kali age and all of this. So then they were, yes, we will carry on through the teaching of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then someone said, what do you say, Sri Maharaj? They asked him. Guru Maharaj's reply was, we are not Sikhs. Says the Sikhs, they worship their scripture above everything, isn't it? The Guru Granth. And that's what they worship in the temple. He said, well, no, we are not Sikhs. We shall see the Vaishnava. We will continue under the direction of a proper Vaishnava. Anyhow, this is some remembrance of those days. You heard many things we hear from Saraswati Thakur, pertinent things and things which have continued in the the preaching of our sampradaya uniquely began with Saraswati Thakur. Like this expression, Godhead. He coined this expression. He considered God is, like a generic idea. There are many different, ideas about God. But Godhead, that it means the fountainhead, the origin, where everything, all other conceptions of God or divinity have come from, the Godhead. So he first of all coined that. Prabhupada, like that, made his magazine Back to Godhead magazine. And many things he told us. That darshan is not through the eye, but darshan is through the ear. You cannot see God with your eye, but you can see God through your ear by hearing Harikatha, by hearing the talks of the saints, the explanations of the scriptures and so on. These are all important ideas that we should embrace. He told those who worship Vishnu, they are called Vaishnava. And those who worship Krishna, they are called Karshana. But those who worship Srimati Radharani, they are called Gaudiya. So Gaudiya means those who are concerned with Srimati Radharani foremost. And he said that the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, they are the Shuddha Shaktas. Because she is the original Shakti, Srimati Radharani. He said Guru Maharaj said, when we were on Parikram of Vrindavan with Saraswati Thakur, there one very famous Vaishnav king and his entourage. They came there and they're doing Dandavat Parikrama of Radha Kund. If you don't know what that is, that means you make your obeisance. You start with your feet here and your arms go here, extended like Dandavat, like a stick. And where your hand reaches, you mark that with a stone or something. And then your next Dandavat, you from there. And like this, the whole of Radha Kund, they did like this. And one of the devotees who witnessed this, they were very excited to mention to Prabhupada, oh, the king, such and such, whoever he is, and his party, they have so much regard for Srimati Radharani. And Saraswati Thakur said, yes, that is true, no doubt. But their idea and our idea is completely opposite. That their idea is that they worship Srimati Radharani and her kund and everything because she is the dearmost of Lord Krishna. And our idea is that we worship Krishna because he is the dearmost of Srimati Radharani. So someone may say, well, it's the same thing really, isn't it? But actually it's a very subtle difference. And that's the difference of the unique conception of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Srimati Radharani. So what he came to give to the world, very unique and very clean and clear. No room for any misconception. And Srila Govinda Maharaj said very clearly that all those in the line of Saraswati Thakur, if they do not follow the instructions of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, their mission must descend into Sahajiyism. As he was the protector of our sampradaya. And he cannot be sidelined or minimized. His conception, his idea, his presentation of Krishna consciousness, it is everything. It is everything. And we see that Srila Sridhar Maharaj, when he was asked why you called your mott Chaitanya Saraswat mott, not Gaudiya mott. So many telling Gaudiya mott this, Gaudiya mott that, but you have not used that word. Chaitanya Saraswat mott. And he said, yes, because I want to show that this mott represents the teachings of Chaitanya Dev coming in the line of Saraswati Thakur. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat mott. And he said, so this place, this mission, Chaitanya Saraswat mott, is where the teachings of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur are preached and practiced purely. And we see Srila Sridhar Maharaj was not interested in popularity, just making some show for popularity's sake. Like he would say, I do not make any show of Julan Yatra. I do not do that. He said, everyone else is doing. My godbrothers and ISKCON and so many, they're doing, where they put the deity on the swing and they swing on Julan Yatra. He said, it is my consideration that this is not wanted by my Guru Maharaj. So I will never do that in my mott. And they may say it is for creating a favorable environment for preaching or this thing or that thing, but I do not care for that. It is my feeling that it is not wanted by my Guru Maharaj. And that we are not qualified to swing Radha and Krishna. It's not such a cheap thing. That Leela of theirs, we have no entrance into that. And many things like that. He would say, the higher literatures, like Ujjala Nilamani and, these, what they call Rasa Tattva, Lila, Rasa Tattva literature, said we are not to read that. And he would say to his godbrothers also, and you may be qualified to read that. I do not say you are not qualified to read that. And first of all, that means that us, the rank and file, we're definitely not qualified to read those things. But he said to my godbrothers, I would say, you may be qualified to read that, but still you should not, because our Guru Maharaj did not allow it. So this is all in all, the order of the Guru. Like we see sometimes devotees going to Radha Kund. So in Upadeshamrita it says, who takes a bath in Radha Kund even once, that's it. Their spiritual life assured. They'll get Krishna Prema, they'll go to the highest region. But he did not allow us to enter in the Radha Kund. The holiest place, consider this if you can, that the most holy divine place, that Kund, Radha Kund, is considered to be Srimati Radharani in a liquid form. That we will touch that with our dirty feet is impossible. So if it were just that simple, that you just take a physical bath there and you just do anything and just go there and do that, everything's okay, right? No, you have to understand what it means. Something very deep. So Saraswati Thakur forbid his disciples to touch Radha Kund with their feet. And he said, you can take a palm full of water and place it on your head and consider that to be your bath in Radha Kund. But not to, glibly stick your stinky old feet in there. So, we think it's comical or something, but seriously, it's very serious thing, a very serious thing. And we're also not wearing the clay as a tilak. Sometimes you see devotees wearing it like a black clay from Radha Kund, and they're making their tilak of that. But that's also considered to be her, Srimati Radharani. So what's the problem? So when you go into the toilet, what will you do? Wearing her in the toilet? Impossible.
Sorry,
Yeah.
if you even touching the corn with the hands, it's like, is it like a symbolic, if we honouring, because even you just explain.
Yeah, of course, it's symbolic. It's kind of a token, if you like, but it should be reflected in our consciousness. But even that isn't actually taking bath in Radha Kund. You must have the proper conception of what is Radha Kund and what is service to Radha Kund. And as long as we don't have that, then we will just show it in a respectable way that we can have some connection there in a respectable way. Last time I was there, 2016, I went with our Sripad Madhusudan Maharaj. And there's a path that you go on through, passing Sanatana Goswami's Samadhi Mandir and different. And he would, before he let us go in there, he stood at the gate and he said, my prayer to you all, please practice tolerance when you go in here. Please, please, please try not to think badly of the priests here. Because as soon as you walk through the door, they're on you. Give money, give money, give money. They want money, money, money. And you don't want to get in a fight with them because they're the pandas of Radha Kund, right? But if you give them money, they're never satisfied, no matter how much you give. And they'll also come up to trick you. They'll say, this is Giriraj Prasadam, take some tulsi. No charge, nothing. You give something and then they say, now give something. Even though they said, no, we're not going to, now give something. So it's a real test of your tolerance and humility. And that last time I was there, I was being chased round by one panda. I don't know if he marked me as being like some rich person or something. I don't know what he thought, but he's following me around. and whatever I'm doing, he said, and when finally I wouldn't give anything, he's cursing me. F off, he's telling me. F off from here. Get out of here from it. Like, really, seriously. And, and I'm still trying not to think badly about that person. And really, it is important that we don't think badly about the Brajabasis. Mahaprabhu, he instructed Raghunath Das Goswami like that. Don't eat fancy food, don't wear fancy clothes, and don't mix with the Brajabasis, because you're going to see them in a mundane way. When every single one of them is going to try and fleece you of as much money as they can. That's almost their dharma, almost, And how will you not think badly about that when you go there? Now that's why Guru Maharaj said, Vrindavan is for those who are higher sense control. And those who do not have that, then Navadvip is the place for them. And he would tell us, if you go to Vrindavan, don't stay for more than a few days. Because then, obviously your mind starts going, why is that priest trying to get money out of me? And, whatever. It's very difficult. And Radhakund, the most holy place in the whole universe, we just be super careful not to make offense there to anybody.
As our Guru Maharaj been there.
Yeah.
He usually goes only stayed in Navadvip.
Yes. Tiny for help.
Sorry, I have one more question.
Yeah.
Could you say that by extension, everything you're saying about Vrindavan and the attitude to adopt, because it's a very potent place, but by extension, we should try to kind of adopt that always in general for all the dhams.
Of course.
Like every country.
Srila Govinda Maharaj used to say, whenever we would go to Vrindavan, don't come to Vrindavan to do business. You can do business in the rest of the whole world. But why try to do that when you come to, to Vrindavan? What happens, most of the devotees, their first excursion is down to Loy Bazaar, isn't it? Around all the shops to buy all the paraphernalia and everything like that. But Gurudev didn't like that. Try not to go there like for a shopping spree. Of course, if you're in charge of a temple or something, you may need some supplies for your temple. Vrindavan's the place to go for that. There are places in Old Delhi where you can get those things, but they're already there, Vrindavan. But now Vrindavan has become like a tourist place. Like from our mott, if you go up the road to Loy Bazaar, the first shop you come to is Gangotri. Yeah. Gangotri. It's like a department store. You get like a boutique department store. It's got like five floors. You go in there. Now they've become rich because of the Western devotees mainly. And what are they doing now? They're making luxury apartments all around Vrindavan. When last time I was there, they had 3 schemes that you could buy an apartment to live, or go there once a year or whatever it is you're going to do. Buy that in Vrindavan, and in that, and it's a luxury. It's luxury. They got everything that you could want there, air conditioning, and then you can stay there. They've even got a gymnasium there. One of them even has a swimming pool. Then you can just be there in Vrindavan and not at all be in Vrindavan. You understand that? So, and of course, maybe some people are thinking, oh, that's a very good proposal. I can live this like quite cheaply compared to here, quite cheaply, luxurious life. And then now and again I can pop out to the temples of Vrindavan and, No. This is not that easy. So, just living in Vrindavan isn't actually living in Vrindavan. Mahaprabhu considered that one of the 5 most important principles of devotion, Mathura Bhasa. That means living in the holy dham. but not just living in the holy dham like a tourist. That isn't what he meant, you know, like in your luxury apartment, and you can, you know, rent a boy to go and buy all your food from you. You don't even have, probably don't even have to do that now. You can probably order it all, you know, through Uber Eats or something. I'm sure they've got that too there as well now in Vrindavan. So, you know, then, okay, we're human, but then not to try to make that like your permanent idea about what is Krishna consciousness. Just stay for a few days and try and show proper honor and respect to that holy place, and then go. But I was there some years ago. I was there, and we were doing parikram, and there's one place where there's a well, and this well, the gopis are meant to draw water there, you know, and it's like part of the parikram. There's some stories that go with it. So we were there, and there's one man there, like looking like a sadhu. He's got long beard, and he's got red cloth and a turban, and, you know, long hair and everything, and his skin is very dark. You can see he's been in the sun a lot, you know. And he came up to me and he said, "Do you remember me?" In like perfect English. "Do you remember me?" I said, "No, oh no, Prabhu, sorry, I don't." And he said, "Yeah, we were together at Chaitanya College in, you know, blah blah blah. My name was such and such." And I still couldn't remember him even when he told me that. And I said, "Oh no, I'm sorry, I really can't remember." Or even my mother said, "Oh yeah, but I didn't remember." And I said, "So how long have you been?" He said, "I've been living here for like 10 years, you know." I said, "Oh, okay." Then he said, "But you know, one thing I've been really like hankering for all this time." He said, "I know it's crazy." He said, "But I really want a Mars bar." You wouldn't have a Mars, you wouldn't have one, would you? You know. And I said, "Oh, I'm really sorry, and I'm sorry to tell you, but Mars bars aren't even suitable for vegetarians." So, and he was like completely crestfallen. And anyway, we had some friendly talk, and we went on our way. But then it occurred to me that living 10 years in Vrindavan and your meditation is Mars bar, then where are you living actually? And to make it even more, you can say stark, this idea, I heard this, that when Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta, when he was doing Vrindavan Parikram with his disciples, one man came up to him, similar thing, who was previously his disciple. Now he's living in Radha Kund as a Babaji. You know, there are many Babajis in Radha Kund. So he's living there as a Babaji, and, you know, he's got the dreadlocks and the beard and the, you know, whatever. He's doing his Astaka Leela Sadhana or whatever it is he's doing. And anyway, they had some conversation, and a friendly conversation, and he went his way, and Srila Prabhupada and his disciples went another way. And then one of Prabhupada's disciples said, "He must be getting so much benefit living in Radha Kund, isn't it?" And Prabhupada said, "He's not living in Radha Kund, he's living in Naraka Kund." So Naraka means hell. So that was Prabhupada's vision. He's not living in Radha Kund, he's living in Naraka Kund, a hell Kund. So it's nothing to do with like a physical location. It's all to do with consciousness. It's all to do with consciousness. If you have a proper consciousness, then you can see that this temple is Vrindavan. If you have that proper consciousness, it's not just a little house on Green Street. It is Radha Shyam Sundar living here. Then how can it not be Vrindavan? Must be Vrindavan. Just like when you're abroad, if you get in some trouble, you can go to your embassy, right? Once they let you in the gate, the local laws, they don't apply anymore. You take sanctuary there. The laws of your own country are, because it's considered, the embassy or the consulate's considered to be part of your country now, isn't it? So similarly, when we come to the temple, we can understand, or we should understand, that when we come through the gate, we are in Vrindavan. And when we're in Vrindavan, the laws of this mundane world, they're not applicable anymore. So we should be conscious about that, and try to understand that. It's like the embassy of the spiritual world. And so anyhow, all of these things we know by the grace of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He's the founder of the Krishna consciousness movement in the modern age, taking what Bhaktivinoda Thakur had envisioned and translating that into action. There was no mission of Krishna consciousness, you can say, before Saraswati Thakur. There were Vaishnavas and temples and all of those things, but no actual preaching mission of the followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the pure followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He began that, and he introduced that to the world. And our attempt to follow that is his legacy. See, his legacy, and our Guru Maharaj wanted us to try to understand that Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, without him we do not know anything about what is Krishna consciousness and what is required for us to progress in spiritual life. And so his position is singular and singularly important in our sampradaya. So we try to invoke his grace upon us. We think that he would be satisfied by our attempt. After Prakrita Goswami Maharaj returned from London and Germany, he brought with him two German disciples of Saraswati Thakur. He'd given initiation to two German men. They came there, and they're staying in the mott in Bag Bazaar. And the devotees complained about them to Prabhupada. Oh, Prabhupada, they're bathing naked in the morning. When they take their bath, they're just getting naked and bathing, you know. Generally in India, as you know, people, they wear a gamcha or something, but they just... And Saraswati Thakur said, this is their custom. Don't think anything of it. Just build a shelter for them. They can bathe in there. He said, let them play in there. That's okay. That's fine. So he was very revolutionary. And in his address to the devotees that were going, when Bon Maharaj, and when there's a recording of his speech to them, and he said, don't go there to thinking that you've got something to give them materially, because everything they've got in the West is far superior to anything you can offer to them. But they're lacking spiritual knowledge and spiritual guidance. That's what you're going to give. If you understand that, then you'll be able to give what Mahaprabhu has ordered us. Because Mahaprabhu has said, by my order, you become guru and liberate this land. And that's to everyone, all of his followers. That means whoever you meet, whoever you speak to, whoever you interact, tell them about Krishna. Bring them to the lotus feet of Krishna as you can, as is possible by you. And don't think you'll be overcome by, pratishta, or, some kind of puffed up by some honor, thinking you're a great sadhu or something. Because I'm there in the background supporting you. You'll get my support, you'll get my backing, and then it'll be real.
Was it also Prabhupada said, I have thought 100,000 years ago.
Yes. Vaikuntha Britti, that was his motto, Vaikuntha Britti. He told, Guru Maharaj said, I mildly complained. I made a mild objection that his idea was, in London, that to establish a students' hostel, and the students would stay there, and it would be connected. We would have like a mott connected with it. And those who were staying there, we would arrange their food. And by that he meant maybe meat or whatever their food may be. We could arrange that. And he said previously when the governor, John Anderson, came, governor of Bengal, he was invited by Saraswati Thakur to Mayapur for the Gaur Purnima festival. And they'd arranged his party to be catered by a hotel in Calcutta to provide food, meats and everything. As it happened, Mr. Anderson was so impressed by Saraswati Thakur, he only took Mahaprasadam. But that provision was made there. So then Saraswati Thakur's idea was we can extend that, make some student hostel in London. And Guru Maharaj said, I mildly objected that if there's meat associated with the temple, it may bring a bad reputation or a bad name on the mission. And so he said, Saraswati Thakur, his face became red, and he slammed his fist on the table, and he said, no, 100 lifetimes ago I decided this, that for preaching Krishna consciousness we can do anything and utilize everything for that. Vaikuntha Britti. Vaikuntha Britti means no limits, no calculation. Everything and anything can be used for preaching Krishna consciousness, for establishing Krishna consciousness. So, of course, Guru Maharaj would also tell us, you have to cut your coat according to your cloth. So if you have, if you're wealthy and you have a lot of cloth, you can have a nice big coat. But if you're a little poor, then your coat may be a bit more humble, if you like. So we can't think that what Saraswati Thakur's vision, that we can emulate that, but we can aspire to the principle of that as best as we can, and try to maintain our own inner purity while doing that. So yes, Vaikuntha Britti. That was his motto. Guru Maharaj said, there was always like some court case going on in the time of Saraswati Thakur. He said, sometimes I would have to go to the court in Krishnagar. And once the judge said to me, or maybe the solicitor or something, said, what is it with you Gaudiya mod people always coming to the court? Why don't you just go to the forest and get a cave and practice your spiritual life there? And coming to the court always there's some kind of court case going on. And Guru Maharaj said, our Guru Maharaj is not that kind of guru. That, we just go and retire to the forest and sit quietly and chant Harinam. His idea is capture all the strongholds of Maya and from there preach Krishna consciousness. What Maya is established, go there and smash it and take it over and use that to preach Krishna consciousness. One of our godbrothers, and he would have done this, I know, and you know who that is, that he had this idea to buy a jumbo jet and fly the preachers all around the world in the jumbo jet. And he gave this proposal to Guru Maharaj. Guru Maharaj kind of laughed it off because he knew, that ain't going to happen, but he laughed it off. But he did say, my Guru Maharaj would have liked that idea. So, this is Saraswati Thakur's preaching. No, Vaikuntha Britti, no limits. However is possible to spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world, we must embrace that. And we have no other raison d'etre, actually, only to try to spread his message to the world. And that is high, and that is fine and pure. So we pray for his grace upon us, his grandchildren, on this holy disappearance festival. He only lived for 62 years in the world, but in that time, what he was able to accomplish.
All